One finger death punch, like the 5-finger death punch, but with one finger because you click. Genius. But what else would you expect from the same developers, from the same studio, as try not to fart? Okay, something seems off here, so let's start at the beginning. Back when the world was new and the earth was down on its luck, there was the Xbox Live Indie Game Arcade, a veritable cesspool of half-finished games, school projects and asset flips galore, with one company standing out as the king of the shithill, Silver Dollar Games. I first got wind of them through ye olde Northern Lion, back when he made Poisoned Mushroom for Machinima. As we can see, oh, right, Machinima doesn't exist anymore. But through the power of re-uploading, let's have a look.
Silver Dollar Games.
Silver Dollar.
Next, let's move on to Why Did I Buy This, which honestly should just be the title of this entire video. Next up, we have No Luca No, which is, for better or worse, probably Silver Dollar's most infamous game. You play the part of an all-American everyman who's just trying to finish his breakfast before another soul-crushing 12-hour shift to the cardboard box factory. Unfortunately, his cat's been abducted by aliens and reprogrammed to seek out cornflakes at all costs to fuel their inevitable invasion of Earth. At least, that's the backstory I made up in my head as I spent half an hour repeatedly batting the right analog stick to keep this cat from eating my damn cereal. Or maybe you're dropping bombs off a rowboat and collecting mushrooms, garlic, and fishing lures to give to her to earn her love. Finally, we have Try Not to Fart, and as usual, everything you need to know is contained directly in the title. Now, we've all been there. You're on a date with a lovely lady, but you had Indian for lunch, and now your ulcerative colitis is flaring up so bad that you do anything to get relief. But if you let those supernovas out of your black hole, she's never gonna give you the big bang.
So, as we can see, not really a resume to be proud of, and the brothers behind Silver Dollar seemingly poured all of this negative press, all of this hatred, the loss of their beloved platform, and all of the other things, like Goku charging up a spirit bomb, and threw it all in their last-ditch effort of one-finger death punch. A ridiculously simple premise. Just click left or right when there is an enemy left or right. But elevated through pure simplicity, fun, and a rising challenge, visual and audio spectacle, one-finger death punch became a sleeper hit no one really expected, with people like Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, and even the late Total Biscuit playing, enjoying, and thereby promoting the game. Silver Dollar was saved, and they spent the next 5 years on One-Finger Death Punch 2, which is bigger, better, more polished, and cleaner than one ever would be. But why the shit am I talking about this today? Because it's fun. Fun to talk about and fun to play, which are the only things that matter. If the game's not fun, why bother? The average league player before losing a game 0-25-0. And because the game is cheap. And in these times, a cheap, fun game to play seems like the right kind of medicine. So then, the game, as the name suggests, is quite simple. Just click with your one single finger whenever an enemy is in range, as the announcer will constantly remind you of in the beginning, as well as do not button mash. Once you get the hang of this, you might think, this is fucking easy, where's even the challenge at? But challenge there certainly is no lack of. If you go through the campaign, different levels have different gameplay modes or win conditions, like just killing X amount of men, deflecting projectiles, having to kill enemies in a certain way, etc, etc. These different levels and gameplay changes through the campaign prevent the game itself from becoming too monotonous too fast. Though even with all of this, it's still no game to play for hours on end. Especially not because the game gets very close to Carpal Tunnel Syndrome Simulator 2020 when the speed hits ridiculous heights, adding to the difficulty. The game gets so fast at times, it's practically impossible to keep up, because the margin of error is surprisingly small, especially without skills or weapons in hand. In both games, but especially in the second one, you're also constantly bombarded by surprisingly good music. You know, some real bangers, crazy visual effects, skills firing left and right, bullets, arrows, throwing weapons raining down on you, a ball of death bouncing around, and at one point, especially in the endless survival mode, you kind of get in this trance, this vibe, this flow, and it really makes you feel like stick figure, you know, like one of those stick fight animations from Games Dojo. So, you take visual flair, crazy sound effects, a body count per second that would even make Hitler raise an eyebrow, and this crunchy feel per mouse click, and you get one finger death punch. Add smoother animations and frame rates, even more bombastic sound and visual effects, and more gameplay modes, and you level up to one finger death punch too. Even then, there's still some surprising amount of depth to be found. Trying to filter all of this sensory overload into useful information to process is quite hard, especially at the ridiculous pace the game can get to sometimes. Especially in the second game, with throwing weapons being either dodged, caught, blocked or deflected, it can throw you for quite a loop if you're not paying attention. If the enemy you thought you'd kill in melee dies from a throwing weapon, then you're not close enough for the enemy behind him to hit him, resulting in a miss and you getting hit, you know, stuff like that. With all the different skills firing basically out of the blue, because you're not really at luxury to check the bars at the bottom of the screen, they can certainly be a handful or a welcome reprieve. So sometimes the side getting cleared and then the whole screen getting cleared right after feels kind of goofy. How to handle brawlers and bosses is usually the hardest part. With different movesets every time, a time limit clearly on screen, these guys are a high priority target for instant kills like throwing weapons or arrows. A few skills also allow for an instant kill, possibly saving your skin at the exact right time when you need it. But when you do fight them hand to hand, it's pretty epic. It turns into this one-on-one between two kung fu masters, especially the nemesis fights, with dodging and blocking, all that good jazz, even rain falling down and a thunderstorm going off in the background. It looks and feels very cool, is what I'm saying. Even in this one-on-one, you can make some mistakes, surprisingly enough. From time to time, misclicking once when the prompt hasn't quite dropped doesn't really count as a miss. Impossible to actually show you here, but just take my word for it. There's more wiggle room than you think. There are a few small issues I have, mainly with the sound. Though the effects definitely sound right to me, but I'm no audio connoisseur, so don't take my word for it. Impactful sound effects, complementing the visuals. Some levels have some ear-bleeding aspects to them. Specifically, there's this indoor-looking level. I assume by breaking the objects in the background, you know, slamming enemies into crates, they produce this cracking sound, this breaking sound. But to me, it sounds almost more like some sound-related bug, because it's so off and it repeats so much. I don't know, it sounds wrong to me. Chainsaw power weapon levels are an earsaw as well, just because you're spamming the stock chainsaw effect yourself the entire time, and when you're dueling someone else with a chainsaw, it's just but it's only for that kind of level, so it's no big deal basically. The voice acting is pretty funny though,
Now or die now.
even if it's ridiculously bad. A bit racist even. I haven't really run into any bugs though, so in general it seems very polished, you know, for what that's worth. All in all, through a surprisingly complex web of enemy and weapon variety, as well as skills, different rounds, and even in-round minigames, even though they're mostly useful in survival only though, One Finger Death Punch 2 is a real punch in the gut. For a price of only $6.59, it's a steal, especially if you get it on sale. And that's it, basically. The game is so simple, I really don't have anything else to say. But in these times of, you know, having to stay home,
Move, bitch. You got coronavirus.
a fun, cheap game like this is certainly one to be recommended. Just don't drive your housemates insane by furiously clicking your mouse away all the time, and be careful of those pesky carpal tunnels. And for all of you achievement hunters or completionists out there, I wish you luck with this one. You're going to need it. At times, to find enlightenment, one has to go through the darkest recesses of what humanity has to offer. And that's where I'll end that. Stay safe everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.